Hello, ladies, and welcome to the Sexy Side of Menopause. We have a special guest for you today. I have become a girl fan. It's not very many people who can check me. Honey, I met my match. As we go on this journey, we have to be in a community with people that support us. We have to have people who see our blind spots and help us navigate this journey. And you really have to understand it takes a village to get to where you're supposed to be in this other side of life. You have probably been the woman that did it all. Take care of the children, take care of the spouse, take care of work, take care of the community, your church. And it's just like, okay, where is your support, sis? Well, I have a young lady here. She's a powerhouse. I met her and I was taken from the very moment I saw her. There is something about her that's like old wisdom. I would put her in a postmenopausal category as far as her wisdom, but she's not a menopausal woman. She is on that perimenopause phase. But I want to introduce to you Xolani. She is in Europe, so she definitely brings a different perspective, and she's going to be able to drop some gems for you today. So Xolani, thank you for being here. Welcome, and please introduce.
Hi. So nice to be here. Thank you so much for having me on board. This is so exciting. This is my very first podcast. So yes, I am very, 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 very excited.
Buckle up, buckle up.
Yes, I know, a bit excited, a little bit scared, but very excited. Thank you so much for such a wonderful introduction. Really lovely to be here and also to be covering such an important topic, you know, just for women in general, but particularly, you know, Black women and women of color. This issue is not spoken about nearly enough. So yes, I'm so pleased to be part of it. Thank you.
So let me ask you, you're in London, right?
No, I'm in Mexico now.
Right, you were in London and then okay, so let's have the conversation there. Let's just start there. How did you get to a place where, okay, I lived in London, but Mexico's calling, and that and make it a reality? Because sometimes we can think about things, and I'm thinking about women as we look at our lives on the menopause journey. There's things that were in our minds or on our list of to-dos or one day when, and some of us never executed.
Absolutely.
Guilty.
Yeah, that's my specialty. So, well, how far should we go back? So yes, I'm from London, from the UK, born and bred. Didn't grow up traveling much, went on kind of usual family holidays, and then went off to university and was just universe aligned perfectly. And I was afforded the opportunity to travel to Africa to do a TV show with the BBC when I left university. And it was living with an African tribe in the middle of the bushland. We were building literally buildings and dealing with the wild animals. And so it was the most phenomenal experience of my life. And it completely changed the entire trajectory of my existence in this life form. I was opened up to the world of travel. And so from then on, really, I had this kind of hunger for traveling and for experiencing different things, you know, around the world. Prior to that, my sort of vista, my view was just the UK. But yeah, it was really expanded after that. So I did some backpacking on my own after that, lived abroad previously on a small island when I landed my dream job as well. I was there for 4 years, and then ended up back in London, had my daughter, and I sort of reached a point, and I remember it so clearly. I had always been very much career focused and career driven, and when I had my daughter, there was just something that just sort of tipped over, and I had zero desire to climb the corporate ladder anymore. It just fell away, like it evaporated just one day. And I didn't want my daughter to be raised in a heavily colonized system. And I wanted her to experience life in different countries and seeing different people and not being told that she is any kind of minority. And then Mexico just kind of came. I mean, I went to Mexico in my backpacking years in my 20s and fell in love with it. And it was one of those places where I sort of said, it was like a, I put a pin in it in my brain.
Yeah.
As it was, somewhere to revisit. And when I had that opportunity, being at that point, I think my daughter was she was less than a year old at that point, and I was like, I think I can do this.
Yeah.
I think I can. I'm a single parent, so I was like, I think I can up sticks with my daughter and go. And I, grappled with myself for a while about it. Should I? Shouldn't I? Am I crazy? Do people do this with a child? And then found YouTube University and the likes of the wonderful people online, and each day it just became more and more a reality. And again, as happens in my life, I always reach this kind of apex where it's like, okay, today it's do or completely don't.
Okay.
And yeah, there was one day and I was like, okay,
Wow.
we're going, and I booked my ticket way ahead of time and did all the plans and made it happen. And now we're here. And in fact, is it today? Literally today, 1 year ago today, we
United
landed in Mexico.
States. There you go.
1 year ago today. Yeah, we left the day before, but a year ago today was the day that we arrived in Mexico City. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, there is so much there. We could just cover that. First, let's get a perspective on
Mhm.
where you were in your life and the timeline, because I'm a baby
Mhm.
boomer. I have definitely recognized that I have been indoctrinated into a mindset.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I didn't get the realization that there was different perspectives of life until I started traveling.
Mhm. Absolutely.
Because I was the one that had the list. Okay, you get the career by getting the education, by being in the right networks. Just check all the boxes, the spouse, the family. Like I checked all the boxes.
Yeah.
And I would say I was good, but I was living somebody else's narrative.
So many of us are. So many of us are. And I was exactly the same. I did all of the things I was supposed to do. Black women, we're good little girls. That's what we're taught to be.
Mhm.
And I was no different. I did the whole education thing, career thing, did all the things I was supposed to do, and yet still found myself in a place where I was like, well, when does the happiness kick in? When does what day does that come? And it never did. I wasn't ever unhappy with my life. It
Mhm.
wasn't that. I wasn't miserable or kind of depressed in my life, but that happiness, it never reached that happiness point.
Yeah.
And that for me wasn't good enough. It really wasn't good enough. I was saying to you the other day that my grandfather said to us when we were young, that every generation is supposed to get easier. It's supposed to get easier. It's supposed to get better. You're supposed to have more. Your life is supposed to improve. And so if I'm sitting down in the exact same circumstances that generations previous were, then there's
Mhm.
something not quite right there.
Yes.
I haven't fulfilled my generational duties in my family's lineage. And so yeah, it really became, and that wasn't a heavy burden for me, just to make that clear. It wasn't
Okay.
like I felt as though, oh my gosh, I'm failing my family, but it was more so that let's go and find the joy. Let's go and find it.
That's very interesting because when I think of like the timeline that you're on, are you like more the Generation X or the millennial?
So I'm a cusper, right? So I'm 41.
Okay.
So I think I'm just 2 years inside the millennial bracket. Although, to be honest, I see so many things to do with millennials that I can't relate to. As you said, I'm quite an old soul, and
Yeah,
I tend to gravitate towards people who are, a bit older than myself. So the millennial thing, yes, I'm top end of it, but
I
I,
got it. I'm on the bottom end of the baby boomers, and
there you
I
go.
totally get the baby boomers, but I vibe with the Generation X.
Right.
And I also, because of my work environment, I worked with the government in so many agencies. So you get the freshest minds right out of college. And I never wanted to be the older person that couldn't connect with the younger. I feel like there's so much to learn
Mm,
from hearing a different perspective.
absolutely. Yeah.
And what I've seen and been inspired by is how the millennials look at their life and live their life. The WFA, work from anywhere. I'm like, what's that? Wait a minute, that sounds nice. What is that? Because it sounds like freedom.
Yes.
Not something that I had ever considered, but it's a
Right.
life.
Hmm. Hmm. It's
And in
such a beautiful thing.
circles, you don't know what you don't know. In addition to the fact you don't know how to make it a possibility, like you said, um, I'm thinking Mexico. How can I make that happen? And you leaned into it and you made it happen.
I made it happen. So one thing I must say about myself that I do recognize about myself, and I recognize it at a very young age, is that I always had this way of being able to get from here to there. And I never know how I'm going to do it, but it's like I know that's where I'm getting, right? And so we just do what we need to do to fill in the middle. Like the middle bit comes afterwards.
Yes,
It's hard to explain, but Mexico was the same. It was like, okay, when I made that decision that I'm going, I didn't know how I was getting there. I didn't know how I was going to sustain myself financially. Um, so in that time, I set up my online business. I had always been a face-to-face therapist
mm-hmm.
up until that point. I had only ever had some bits of work online, little bits of work post Panini, but for the most part, it was all face to face. So for me, the online thing was, whoo, I had to learn some things. I had to learn some things. I'm an analog girl. I'm an analog girl, and learning all of this digital existence was just mind blowing. I don't know how you handle it. How are you with it?
Coaches. That's the bottom line for me. Where's the person that can show me the shortcut? I'm
Right.
Braun, or back in my day, it was Michael Jordan. It's like, where are the coaches? Show me where's my blind spots? What do I need to learn?
Mhm,
What
mhm.
I rely on. And for me, being a menopause coach who has already navigated that, for women who are having challenges, get a coach.
Yes,
Do it the
absolutely.
hard way. Find some help, find some support, because it's about shortening the runway
Hmm.
time.
Hmm. Yes.
Also need to have somebody that can help you with the execution of what you think is possible. And that's why I love what you're doing. You said that you had the ability to, like, okay, this is what I want, and I need to methodically figure out the steps to get there. And that's what blew me away about what you do, because if I say something to you, you'll ask the questions that seem to build the bridge across. And it's like, well, think about it that way, but you have that ability because of the level of work that you do as a therapist.
Hmm. Yes.
Put
Yeah.
those together and then think about the mindset that goes along with that.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually reverse engineer the things that I do. So I do the end goal, and then I actually work backwards to how I'm going to get there. Which seems to give me a lot of insight into, okay, what's coming down the line, and then I can kind of meet myself there. It sounds really weird when I kind of put it into words, but it's a system that's kind of worked for me time and time again. This kind of where are you getting to? Work backwards and meet yourself along the way. And I think so many of us do try to do things on our own too much, just too much. I'm with you. Get a coach. If you can't get a coach, get a friend. If you can't get a friend, get somebody. If you can't get somebody, get on the internet. There's help out there.
Yes.
There is help out there. And so many of us believe that we have to kind of do the hard fight. I haven't achieved anything unless I've fought for it. I think one of the biggest things that we still believe in that is just not true and doesn't need to be true anymore is that, you know, that statement, without struggle, there's no progress.
No pain, no gain.
No pain, no gain. No pain, no gain. And
Mm-hmm.
I remember, you know, being younger and being in England and kind of everything that was happening in America and all the sort of civil rights movements and all of that sort of thing was very much, you know, we were sort of watching it from the UK and kind of on the edges of it and wanting to get involved. And I remember that statement, without struggle, there's no progress. We've got to fight for what we need to achieve. You know, we have to get that thing and take it. No one can take it from us. And that was great for that time. But I think now there's a different way to do things.
Yes.
We don't need to snatch and grab, and we don't need to fight, and we don't need to, unless the struggle presents itself to us. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying there's no fight at all, and I'm not saying that everything is easy.
Yeah.
But in terms of the energy that we come with, if we start out the blocks, right, I'm ready to fight. Universe is going to give you something to fight.
Yes. I have to say that I am definitely guilty of that. But one of the things that I have noticed in my life as I've made my way along the menopause journey is I had been in an environment where I had to totally work from my testosterone, my energy.
Yes.
Because in supporting government and in the agencies that I was in, it was very male dominated and most of it. And I'm like, don't get it twisted. This little 5'4" some kind of, oh, I will bring it. I know how to tap in. I have all sons. I've been a lot around a lot of men.
Yeah.
Also learning in this stage of my life that doesn't serve me. I need to be softer, lean into my femininity, and push, I can attract.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's been a lesson for me. And I know you can see that. I know you can see that.
Well, a little, yes. But you know, it's true, because the fight is necessary for certain situations, right? But that's the distinction. The fight is necessary to navigate those situations. If we can remove ourselves from those situations, then actually we don't need to be in that masculine fight, action-oriented energy anymore, and we can step into something different. Now, once we get out of it, we have to learn how to be in the feminine. That's the other side, right? But we absolutely don't need to be in that masculine energy, because it really does age us.
Yes.
It really does take its toll on us, physical, emotionally, spiritually, on all levels. It really takes its toll being in that masculine energy. You know, but the feminine energy is the much softer, the gentler, the calmer, the more nourishing and nurturing. And if we don't have that side of things, then we are forever going to be depleted. And then when we do come to that menopausal stage, where our bodies are starting to do different things and needs the nourishment, right?
Exactly.
We're going to be struggling.
And I think I'd like to hear your perspective from a person that's been in Europe for many, many years. United States, it's all about the grind.
Yeah.
It's all about the grind. And it's just like, even women that are at the top of their games in their organizations, they're still working aggressively working to constantly prove themselves, even though they've already achieved this level of success. But it's just like you can't step back. You have to always be on and always be on. And I found for myself, I had realized that I can feel the pressures within my body. I loved what I was doing. It was very exciting, exhilarating, traveling all over the world, doing great work to support peace, but understanding that there are stages in our lives. And once we get to this place in menopause, I feel like our bodies are saying, like, hey, wait a minute,
Mm-hmm.
care of me personally, all of this putting out, stop and start taking care and putting in. And that's something that's a little challenging for us who've been taught to stay in the grind, stay in the grind, stay in the grind.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's so, um, you know, and I don't want to, I want to be clear that I'm not making Black women wrong for having this mentality. I was part of it myself.
Mhm.
It's kind of become part of the bloodline, and it's in the way we're raised, and it's in the very fabric of society that we are the workhorses, right? And we do go at it and grind tirelessly,
Mhm.
tirelessly. We do it with our children, we do it with our families, with our communities, with our, you know, with our work consistently. And then we get to a certain point, like you say, and then somehow your body, your mind, something will be like, hey, hello,
Mhm.
hello.
Yes.
Like, for me, it was an autoimmune disease, you know, that got me to start to make that connect between actually my physical body and what I'm doing career wise, and, you know, out there and connecting with people and all the other levels that I function on.
Yeah.
The kind of physical side of things needs to be considered as well.
Mhm.
And my autoimmune is like my kind of, it's like my barometer. So it tells
Yeah.
me when, girl, you've done too much. You've done too much, too much, too much. Stop. And I have to listen. I have to, you know. But I'm quite fortunate that it doesn't impact me hugely. It just kind of nudges me when I've done too much. But
Okay.
for some women, the thing that kind of wakes them up to needing to slow down is something sometimes much more painful, much more unpleasant.
Yeah. Something medical.
Yeah, unfortunately. So hopefully, you know, for a lot of people it's nothing, and they kind of click onto it themselves, which is wonderful. But I do believe that we don't need it to get to that point.
Right.
You know,
Right.
we don't need to work ourselves into some kind of medical crises
Right.
before we slow down. We
Mhm.
can actually consciously say to ourselves, let me slow down. Let me just take my foot off the gas a bit. Who's watching? And even if they are watching, so, so,
That's a two-pronged thought. One is, even though you've been grinding and your body is telling you something and you're tapped into, like, I need to be listening.
yeah.
These exterior voices that you feel like you have to keep going so they're not judging you for being a woman that's not fulfilling the ability to keep going, to be the superwoman. Like, how dare you take
Mhm.
the cape off? Like, but understanding the second aspect of that is you have to have the mindset to move into a place that serves you and
Yeah.
moves you into a place that you are being healthy
Mm.
yourself for the long journey. I was fortunate enough that I didn't really fall into a pattern that I live my life totally for somebody else.
Mhm.
I was trying to be the best version I know I can do by taking in those recommendations. You seem to have figured this out a lot younger than I was able to figure this out. So, how can you speak to women that they can lean into that aspect and not
Mm.
find themselves living this life and realizing, I used to refer to your ladder as on the wrong building.
Yeah, yeah. You know, I am fortunate. I am fortunate. And I think the work that I do has been a blessing for me. I have spent well over a decade and a half, nearly 2 decades now, living in other people's brains and seeing their struggles and helping them through their struggles and getting them to the other side. And I've learned so much for me from helping, you know, thousands of people now. So I do recognize that I've had a bit of insider information in that respect. But I think for women out there who are just kind of on this grind, they're on the hamster wheel and they're, you know, first of all, take a minute to assess your situation, right? Not scrutinize, not judge, not make yourself wrong, not berate yourself, but just sit and objectively look at your life and really speak to yourself. The things that I'm doing in my life day to day, are they bringing me joy? Are they bringing me contentment? Are they bringing me sorrow? Am I indifferent to them? And really check in with where the different aspects of your life fall into. And you've got to get harsh and honest with this, right? And sometimes even this can be a little bit painful to do. But unless we know where we are in this very moment, it's very difficult for us to navigate to get to other places, right? So there has to be a degree of willingness to look at the truth and tell ourselves the truth, right? And when I say tell ourselves the truth, I'm not talking about looking at all the painful history that you've had and how harsh it's been. No, your life today, just your life today. Look at it and see what's there and how does it feel for you. If you can sit there and say, I'm truly joyful in my life, good for you, my friend. Good for you. I wish you the utmost pleasure in living out that joy. But if you're like the majority of us who will do that assessment, look at our lives and kind of realize that there's some areas that are falling short. I'm doing the best I can, but I'm not feeling the joy that I want to feel in those areas. Really understand that there is the option for different. Maybe you can't see it, right? Maybe you can't see it, and that's fine, right? I did a conference once, not my own, but I did a conference with somebody else, and they were talking about realms of possibility, and that it's like when you're in your life space, you're in a room, right? And you can see everything that's in this room. You can see the walls, the decorations, the furniture, everything that's in this room. But you cannot know what's in another room beyond the door in this room, right? It takes for you to open the door, go through the door and see what's in the other room. That's a whole new realm of possibility. So the room that we're in, that's like our life now. And we think that we have the limitations of the walls, windows, the ceiling, right? That's the box, yeah? And we can't have, do, or be any different. And it's only until we stop this and allow ourselves to start to see just a little door. Sometimes it's a little window we've got to crawl through, right? A little space where we can kind of open up. And what we open up to is a new realm of possibilities. So that new realm of possibility might be, I can leave my job. I can change my job. I can get help in. I can move country. I can leave this relationship. I can be single. I can have a child. I can tell my child to leave, whatever it is, you know, there's possibility there, right? And once we start to see the possibilities, then we're in the fun place, right? Because then when there's possibility, there's space and there's the opportunity for movement and growth and change. Okay. But it really takes the first step is just really objectively and honestly looking at what you're working with. And then from there, starting to make some choices and decisions that take you into that new realm of possibility. Yeah. And also, again, you don't have to do that alone.
What I was thinking as you were speaking is like, this is a totally different perspective if you're finding yourself in a box
Yes.
and you
Yes.
don't know how to move beyond that box.
Mm.
So Xolani's here.
Yeah.
Reach out to her. I have had so many mind-blowing conversations. I like to think I'm pretty broad in my life perspective, but sometimes you can't see the forest for the trees, basically.
Yes.
And it takes someone who has a vision that can see
Mm.
farther, and also who has worked with other people and navigating this and seeing how these blind spots are not identifiable by you, but she's actually been able to support somebody in seeing them. So I want to say, I'm so grateful I met you. The universe brought us together.
Yes. Yes.
Share you with everyone on the podcast. I am always amazed how time just disappears. There's
I
a lot
know.
more to tap into, but I want to thank you for your share and
Mhm.
want to give you these last few minutes to talk to the women who may be in this space and need support. Let them know what you do, how they can get help,
Mhm.
and how they can reach out to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So I'm a psychotherapist and I am also a coach. So I work with women in lots of different capacities. So I do one-on-one coaching, I do group coaching, and I also do psychotherapy one-on-one. And depending on the needs of the person, we will look at what service is best for you to meet your needs. And we can do that. I do free consultation calls. And they can access that via my website, which is www.Xolani, that's Xolani therapy.com. And come on board for a free consultation and we can look at what your needs are. I do want to say that find the help that you can get access to, right? I work with people all over the world and I'm licensed to do that. But I'm not the only person that does what I do. I mean, I'm the only person that does what I do, right? But there are other therapists, right? There are other therapists and there are other methods of support. But just to add to what I was kind of saying before, don't feel that it's just okay to consult the people around you for advice and support because they're in the same room as you, right? The realm of possibility, they're in the exact same room with the pretty much the same walls. And when you consult people who are just in your life space, you're going to get feedback about the same room. And so it needs somebody with an outside perspective, right? Because when I work with someone, I'm here with you. I'm also trained to be way up here and to look at things from a bird's eye view and from different perspectives. And I'll help you to understand what's going on for you, what's led to you making the decisions that you have made and having the life that you have now, and also how to get unstuck.
Yes.
Right. So I think it's important to get an outside perspective if you can. Like I say, I work with people in lots of different ways, but there are people who there's 1,001 different ways that you can kind of access support, but just please do, right? Whichever support you choose to access, you do need to be proactive in it. It's scary sometimes to think about getting support, but I promise you, getting the support is not scary at all, right? That's not the scary bit. The scary bit is just, oh my gosh, am I going to do this? And once you make contact, it's actually much less scary than it may seem initially.
There was a reference that you said, why put off living your best life?
Yes.
I thought that was genius. So, ladies, if you're in this space where you know there's something more for you, you're in this box and just like, okay, I don't know how to move beyond this, but I need support getting to that next level. Reach out to Xolani. She is absolutely amazing. I am in awe every time I have conversations with you about the level of wisdom that you have and the professionalism that you bring to the conversation. So I appreciate you. I'm so grateful for you.
Thank you.
You're going to be one of those coveted people at some point. We can't even reach out to you. So,
Never, never.
but I know that I am so grateful and better as I look forward to my journey ahead because I've connected with you. So thank you so much. And ladies, I encourage you to reach out to her as well. So as we come to the close of another episode, I want to thank you for being here on the Sexy Side of Menopause. And just know, ladies, the best is yet to come. So we'll see you on the next episode.
Bye.